Budget accommodations in Singapore has rebounded with a vengeance after losing lustre during the pandemic. Singapore Tourism Board data shows such options now exceed pre-COVID levels by around 7%, with operators lured by the promise of a travel recovery this year. But now that COVID is in the rear-view mirror, they're having to deal with the more traditional challenges.
For as little as about $50 a night, guests at the Pod Capsule Hotel get to catch some shut-eye in minimalist surroundings. But they also get all they need for a quality snooze, like fluffy pillows, sateen sheets and fresh towels.
If I were to use 2017 as a comparison, and then I would say that there's an increase in our average daily rate, and 21% an increase, and then for revenue was 8% increase.
The establishment succeeded where others did not. According to data from the Singapore Tourism Board, there were 123 so-called economy-tiered accommodation options when Singapore closed its borders in 2020. When borders reopened, 110 operators were left standing. By last November, the number had grown to 132, exceeding pre-pandemic numbers. But 2024 was expected to get more competitive as operators and even countries jostle for the tourism pie.
We could have flexible payment terms with refundable terms, or different types of rates given to guests depending on their needs. We will still try to see where we can fit in additional services that can make them feel that this is home. I'm really coming back to home, and not just a place where I can just sleep and get out the next day.
This hostel is another pandemic survivor, after pivoting to provide housing for vulnerable Singaporeans. Now it's gone back to being a home away from home for backpackers.
I was just telling her about your wonderful trip.
To stand out in the crowd, it's also picked up a tour operator license.
We have a tours department that creates award-winning food tours, but the latest creation that they had is a musical tour. It is very much like La La Land. It's very exciting.
By using Joo Chiat's heritage buildings as the backdrop to street theatre, Battlebox hasn't just attracted tourists, but locals too. For the last half of the year, it's been running about 3 two-hour shows every week. It's a strategy that's proving useful amid inconsistent occupancy rates.
I mentioned before COVID that we had quite stable numbers. It was between like 70 to 80%. Now we are having days whereby it's just half the occupancy because everyone is moving around so much.
With 2024's economy still uncertain and geopolitical conflict threatening to force travellers to tighten purse strings, innovation will be key for low-cost accommodation sectors.
Budget-friendly tourists as the backpackers, as those that really spend very little money. But I think the budget-friendly tourists today are those that are very budget-conscious. Not necessarily that they don't have money to spend, they're just a little bit more careful in what they're going to be spending their money on. So these are people really worthwhile reaching out to, because they can spend if they see there's a lot of value they get for the experience, for what they're going to be paying out.
The return of Chinese travellers is also seen as a potential game changer. And even though it's unclear how quickly this will rebound to pre-COVID levels, analysts believe attracting them will be key to operators' continued growth.